hanging somewhere. I wanted my real estate license to be hanging somewhere so that I could depreciate rental property income. Then my accountant said I could be an attorney, and I didn't have time for that because I was wearing pajamas teaching karate. I could be a contractor, same problem, or I could be a really crappy realtor. Well, really crappy realtor worked because it didn't take any time. So I signed up for really crappy realtor. I hung my sign with a buddy of mine who had an ERA office at the time. And I sold 3 properties from 2006 to 2009. So I was better than the realtors who did 0, 1, and 2 from 2006 to 2009. And we all know there's a lot of them. So I failed at being the world's crappiest realtor, but not by much. June 30th, 2009, I sold my karate schools. And I had a 25-mile non-compete around my businesses that I sold. I did not I failed miserably at being the world's karate school owner. I was in the top 10% of school owners in the country. And if you look it up, there's more karate schools than Dunkin' Donuts. So I sold that because my wife told me I was never home, spend time with the kids, be home more often. So I said, all right, I'm going to put this real estate license to use. And in May, I started chunking along at the real estate game, and June 30th closed on the business. And then, much like Oscar Madison and Felix Unger, in August of that same year, my wife decided that she didn't need me in the house any longer. Apparently, being there not enough was a lot better than being there enough. So I got divorced in August of 2009 and was paying probably $30,000 to $35,000 a year in child support and alimony with no money coming in, living in my parents' basement. Yep, I was a troll under the house. I would have been on the street had it not been for them. So God bless them for that. And by 2011, I think it was, I bought a little townhouse and, got myself back on track. I'm not a townhouse guy. I said, I'm going to do 2 to 5 there. That was my prison term. And at year 5, I bought a single family colonial, got myself going and built it up again, but built up my business. I did it through, thank God Bold came out in 2009. I've done that 13 times now. I've redshirted as a Bold coach. I average between 50 and 60 units a year. And almost 4 years ago, I said, you know what? For 30 years, I have not wanted to live in New Jersey. I want to go back to where I went to college. So I went to Delaware. And after 2 years in Delaware selling no houses down here, I was ready to go back to New Jersey. January of 21, Mike McGavis, who owns our market center and 17 others, looks at me and says, I'd like to learn more about expansion teams. Mark, do me a favor, call all the people you know that have expansion teams. Well, I know Bob Lucido. I've had lunch with the man. I know of Adam Hergenrother because I get his emails. I don't know the man personally. And I knew Francis Cepetto from taking Bold business coaching with him. So I called him about Chris Suarez's team with experience. He told me it became place, introduced me to Brady, and the rest was history. So February of 2021, I jumped into launch. I had my first closing of the year that year, March 31st. All right. The quarter was basically over and woohoo, I did one. My goal was to become a network agent a partner agent by the end of that year, which means I needed to do 50 units before December 31st. On December 30th, I closed on the 50th one. So it can be done. I'm not claiming I did it the smartest way.
That's super cool.
Thank you. But I'm not claiming I did it the smartest way. There's a young lady out there by the name of Jordan Lindenkugel who I think did it in a better way. I did it I put my shoulder down, my nose down, and I dialed and I worked and I pushed. There was a Saturday in November that I slept for 20 hours. All right. And I'm not playing with that. I was in the middle of Bold at that time for number 13. And I slept for 20 hours. My goal for that Bold was just to find talent. And so I'm starting to nurture some with that. We'll see where it goes. But but I did those units, just me and a place admin, for the network assistant admin. So can it be done? Yes. Can you hit your goals? Absolutely. The question I have for you guys is, why did you pick the goal you chose? I don't need you to answer it right now. I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot, but write it down, put it somewhere. Why did you pick the goal you chose? Then the next question I have for you is, why was that important to you? And if you're not on pace to hit your goals, did that change? What was the goal? Was it important to you? And 3, if you're not on target or ahead right now, did the reason for the goal or the importance of the goal change? Because if it is, this is a different discussion. If the reason for the goal and the importance of the goal hasn't changed, what do we need to do to change going forward? Because the game's still going on. I mean, listen, I hate the Patriots, but that game against the Falcons, where they were down and beaten and then came back and destroyed them in the second half, it can be done. And I'm sure there's countless examples of it being done. So what is it that was your goal? Why was it important? Did it change?
Mark, tell me something. When you closed your first one on March, that left you 9 months to do 49 more transactions, or you had to do 5 per month.
It left me 7 months.
Oh, 7 months, pardon me. What?
Yeah, because if I got under contract in November, we were closing in January.
Yep. So what was the activities you did to ensure you were going to succeed?
So the first thing I did is I got accountability, heavy on the accountability. Katie Benson ran numbers with us in launch, and not launch, but in the network agent calls. She ran our numbers. What's your gap to goal? How many pendings do you need to get every single month? Guys, for me, it was 11. For me, it was 11 pendings a month to hit goal.
So you actually had outside help for the accountability. What was the other thing you did?
So what was the young man who was speaking with the script earlier?
Robbie?
Robbie, yeah, Robbie. Robbie used a really cool script that I think belonged to Ricky Caruth. And Ricky's got a 0 to diamond program. Now, I don't advocate his program, but I love his scripts. And his scripts are really, really natural. And I use the exact same script, and I circle prospect, FSBOs, expireds. I'll circle prospect for listings. I'll circle prospect for buyers. I'll circle prospect for open houses. And the script will always follow the same block. It just starts off as, hey, is this blank? Hey, blank, Marc Pollak with Keller Williams Realty. How are you today? And by the way, guys, you don't have to write these down. I'll give you my email at the end. If you want them, I'll send them to you. Okay. This is Marc Pollak with Keller Williams. How are you today? And they'll answer. I say, yeah, I'm doing great too. Just, you know, and then you throw in a pattern interrupt, which is, you know, if it's around a holiday, yeah, I'm really looking forward to blank holiday. Or if it's beautiful outside, man, I'm just loving this sunshine. It's a great time to get outside and just enjoy the day. If it's raining, man, it's raining right now. I know the grass needs it, but I can't wait for the next sunny day. How about you? And we go through that for seconds. From there, it's, well, hey, listen, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'm reaching out to the neighbors because I promised my seller at 123 Main Street that I would call all the neighbors and find out, who do you know that is looking to buy a home in our neighborhood? If I have a buyer, I'll call the neighborhood. Hey, I have a buyer that's looking to purchase in our neighborhood. And as you know, the market's been insane. They're bidding 20, 30, 40, 50 over asking. They're getting outbid. Who do you know that's looking to sell a house? If it's a for sale by owner, hey, I saw your house was on as a for sale by owner. Are you still on the market? If it's an expired, did you know that your home came off the market? It's going to be the same script up to there. Then I tweak it a little for what I'm calling for. And then once I go through all of that, it's a real simple case of, well, hey, listen, do you have someone in mind when the day comes for you to buy or sell a home. Now, if they don't, it's great. Would you be offended if I stayed in touch? Fantastic. What's the best email for that? And I take their email, and every single week, Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning, my newsletter goes out. Constant Contact. Do not do it through Brivity. If they unsubscribe, you lose everything. All right. Constant Contact. And it goes out every single week. My VA puts it together. She sends it out. If they do have a realtor in mind, you can quit there if you choose to. And that's Ricky's script quits there. I added something to it. So let's say they say, yeah, my realtor, Wes, he's my guy. He's with Keller Williams. Wes is my guy. Fantastic. And you know what? It sounds like you're in great hands. And you know what? Tomorrow, God forbid, I could step off the curb, get hit by a bus. God forbid something happens to Wes, or maybe something positive. Wes, hits the lottery and retires or moves away, gets a great opportunity. Would it be okay for me to stay in touch and be your second choice? Fantastic. What's the best email for that? And then I do that. And that's when I'm doing that, I'm not looking for today business. I'm going to hit them with my newsletter every week. If the relationships seem right, I'm going to put them on a quarterly call plan where I'm going to touch them every single quarter. If I get the email, they're going to get market reports. They're going to get listing alerts around their home, etc. So that way we're constantly hitting them. But the one or two things I did, well, the big thing I did is I picked this up figuratively because I use the Vortex dialer with RedX. That's the company I like. Mojo, a lot of people are using. Vulcan, a lot of people are using. Land Voice, all great companies. The one that worked for me was Vortex because it just, for some reason, I found it fast and simple. And I pick up the phone and I dial and I use the same script every time. The biggest thing that I find that a lot of agents do is they wing it. All right. And when I had my karate schools, I used to do what I call the 2-step lesson plan. I'd be 2 feet away from the mat. I'd take 2 steps and then decide what I was going to teach that day. That will work in the karate business. They've already signed up. My enrollment process was not like that. It was structured. It was choices. It was scripted. And moms would be crying in their chair as we're taking little Johnny through their intro because it was organized, scripted, and structured. Once they got on the floor, though, it didn't match that. And had it matched that, I probably would have had a lot more students even than what I had. And I had 200 to 300 students at any given time. But what is it that you're saying when you get on the phone? Is it the same thing every time? Because
how did you practice your scripts? How did you go about getting proficient where they didn't feel, choppy, or that you're reading them like, when a movie actor reads a script first time, I'm sure it sounds choppy, but as they get better at it, memorize it, they internalize it, and then they personalize it. How did you do that? And who did you do that with?
So I did not follow the traditional route. And again, I think that success leaves clues, and I probably would have done it a lot faster had I gone the more traditional route. But I got good at scripts back when I had the karate business because I ran it on scripts as far as, before we hit the training floor. And then at the end of classes, those were all scripts as well when we did our mat chats. So I got good at just picking scripts up quickly because scripts are language of sales structure. They tend to follow a similar pattern. So once you learn one, it's easy to learn the others. And if you make them all basically the same, because listen, I'm not the brightest bulb in the bunch. I want to make sure that it's simple. All right. Because simple is scalable. So what I did was when I first did it, I would read it. And I like this from Bold is you read the script to yourself 1 or 2 times. Then you read it with a group out loud as fast as you can, not looking for accuracy, just as fast as you can, 10 times. Then you do it with a partner and you just consistently do it. The question is that I've always asked people is, if I wake you up at 3 in the morning, and don't worry, I'll be sleeping. I will not wake you up at 3 in the morning. And yet if I woke you up at 3 in the morning and shook you out of bed and said, give me your expired script, could you do it? All right. Don't answer the question here if you don't want to. I can tell you that at this point in time, I can do that. You wake me up from a dead sleep, expired script. Hey, this is Marc Pollak. Thank you for taking my call. Is this so-and-so? Fantastic. Hey, listen, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I saw your home was expired on the multiple listing service, and I was wondering, when were you going to be interviewing the right agent for the job of selling your home? And just do it. And then the next thing is, get a mirror. I know this sounds corny. Get a mirror. I know I'm not smiling very much right now. I suffer from an intense personality. The martial arts side of me, I trained police, SWAT, prison guards, military. There wasn't a hell of a lot of smiling. All right. And yet, get in front of the mirror, get the smile on, your inflection will change. You don't want to be this guy. Chris Heller can do that. That's the only person I know. Chris Heller can call you like this all day long and make a lot of money. I will go broke. Put inflection into it. Let your voice go up, let your voice go down, but make sure your voice is going down at the right times too.
Hey,
All right.
Mark, one of the things you did is you showed us how to get your script, so you're prepared on that. So you were getting on the phones. Well, how many calls would you make, and how did you track to see if you were going to be on track for your closings based on your phone calls, or how did you do that? Or the accountability?
My direct coach was Brady Pittman. And so we would talk once a week and we would go over the numbers, and she was so much better at those numbers than I was. And she would just look at it and say, okay, well, based on this, Mark, you need to make 247 calls a day. Anybody have a heart attack, fall off their chair? Everybody okay? We lose anybody there?
How many calls was that again?
247 dials. That's not conversations, that's dials. I don't recall how many conversations I needed to have from that number, and yet 247 dials seemed to be my magic number. So if I made 247 dials a day, that works. I can knock out about 100 dials in an hour, a little north of 100 dials in an hour. So we're looking at about 2 hours plus of work.
Okay, got some questions here.
Oh,
Steve?
yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Is it me?
Yep, go ahead.
Go for
Okay. Hey, man, I appreciate you for being here this morning.
it. My pleasure.
So you were saying you came in, you're on an experienced team, but the same, with me or any of our agents, right? We're new to place. So let's say they come in, they're on Steve Gilbert team place, sell one home by March, but the goal is really, really big for the end of the year. Now you're talking about some bold and some coaching and some other things you have going on. Was that something that Chris was paying for you, or was that something that you were paying for because you were after it for your goals?
So that was included in my launch program. So when I was in launch, we had a coach. As a network agent, we had a coach. The equivalent would be the rainmaker on your team.
Okay.
Whoever's the rainmaker on your team that's going to guide you along, coach you along, and look at your numbers with you.
Got it. So me. Thanks a lot. All right.
On now.
Hey, Robbie?
Cool. Very good.
Yeah, I was just going to add to I guess just to throw this out there. Thursday, I did $634 for one appointment without a script, and Friday I did 200 with a script and got an appointment. So it's a huge difference when you are well scripted versus when you are not scripted.
Well, here's the beautiful thing about the script. Let me ask you guys a question. And again, you don't have to answer this, but put it in your head and think about this. If you're inconsistent with your dials, if you don't make a whole lot of dials, can we tell you what's wrong in your system there? Absolutely. You're not touching enough people. You're not reaching out enough. When you do make your dials, let's say you're making 200 to 300 dials, or if your goal requires 100 dials, I don't care what the number is because it's your goal. But whatever the number is for you to hit your goal, if you're making all of the dials that are required for it, are you saying the same thing every single time somebody picks up? Or does it change every time somebody picks up? And the reason I ask that question is, if it changes every time somebody picks up, we can't measure what you're doing other than you're having X amount of conversations and you're getting X amount of appointments off of it. But if you're saying the same thing every single time, we can have you sit down with us go over what you're saying and give you an answer as to what does it take? What do we need to tweak in order to improve your ratios, improve your numbers? All right, but if you wing it and change it every single time, there's nothing for us to fix because we don't know what you did on that call.
And I love what you said there, Mark. You have to be doing the same thing every day so you can measure it. And it may not be dials. Someone may be really good at door knocking.
Yeah,
And they said, I like that face to face. And you may find out I got to knock 76 doors a day to do the same thing, or 53 doors, whatever that is. But
Whatever
it
the
really
number.
goes down to contacts and
Yeah, or-
making those contacts. But you as business owners, because that's what all you guys are business owners, is what dynamics do you need to measure to make certain? And that's what we do, is we're going to tell you what your dials are, what your open houses are.
Mhm.
But you need to go ahead and put in Brivity your appointments and stuff so you can actually track this. And that's going to make a huge difference. Now, were you utilizing Brivity too, Mark?
Oh, absolutely. Brivity. So it was kind of funny, and it happened at just the right time. They improved command and totally screwed it up. So I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I got out of command and I jumped into Brivity wholehearted. And the only thing I use command for anymore is so I can get paid. I put the person in, I don't put any information. I just go straight over to opportunities, put that in, boom, everything is in command. I put people on when they come in, they could be on a random 3, 7, 15, 30, 60, 90, which means I'm going to be calling, emailing, texting in those day intervals. And the reminder automatically comes up on Brivity every single day. I look at my reminders and bang them out, or my VA bangs them out. One of us is hitting those people. I'm putting my appointments into Brivity and letting it link to my calendar, and that automatically puts their email address in so I can send the calendar invite out to them. But yeah, no, Brivity, I love Brivity. I love the auto plans, and I'm slowly but surely becoming less and less tech-hearted and learning how to use that software much better. It's a great asset. Yep, you're on mute.
I said, I love what you said there. You broke it down really into 3 steps. One, you set up your accountability with Katie and also Brady. And Brady is an agent down in Florida. Is that correct too, with Place?
So Brady is an agent in Florida, but a vast majority of what her stuff is around the coaching of launch agents. That's her big thing.
Right.
So when you like network agents, I should say, she's your coach. Well, not the only coach, there's others. She's one of the coaches from 0 to 50.
And you guys, everybody on this call has their actual team leader that is here with them. So you're going to have much better access. But then you practice your scripts, got those under, and then you set up your contacts. How long did you have to do that before you started seeing those results that you wanted? Because I'm sure it just didn't happen April 1st. No.
So I would have to go back and look, but my chart went like this. It went tick, 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 tick. And then I think I had a really big month in July, if I remember correctly. August was great. September, I mean, and I just kept cranking it out, 10, 11 closings a month to finish out the year. You're on mute.
Sorry. You did April, or you did March, April, May, and June, 4 months without really seeing the results that you wanted, but you kept grinding it out. Why did you do that? Or how did you get the mindset for that?
So, like I said, my big why here, I went to University of Delaware. I graduated in 1987. Yeah, it's like got teeth falling out my head. I'm an old man. I graduated in 1987, went back to New Jersey, and I said, this is temporary. Got married, had kids, life happened. I stayed in Jersey. 30 years later, I finally got back to Delaware. And I was ready to go back to New Jersey 2 years after that because it wasn't working. This was the last chance to stay where I wanted to be, to stay out of New Jersey because I had no desire to be there for 1,000 different reasons. I still sell up there, but I had no desire to be up there. And I was going back because I wasn't making it. So either I was going to make it or I was going to pack. And I was gonna go, if I went back, I was going back with my tail between my legs because I told everybody when I left, I'm burning the ships. All right,
So
I
you-
sold the house.
I love that.
The house down here, I burnt the ships and got on the island, and the island was going underwater. And finally, everything picked up, and it was because of the actions and the activities, the accountability, and saying the same thing to enough different people that my life turned around. And you could ask, was it a one-hit wonder? You tell me. I'm over 30 units for the year so far. And that's just
Burn the
me.
ships.
Burn the ships. Means you can't leave. It's basically the Viking thing. You go and you burn the ships. Either you take over the village or you die trying.
I'm gonna open it up for questions. He's got questions for Mark.
I couldn't have covered everything. I'm not that good.
Okay, I've got one.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, it seems like desperation was a driver for sure.
Yes, at one point it was.
I guess I'm always surprised how complicated deals are, especially when you get into several at the same time. So how is your process of leveraging some of the, just the crazy things that feel really demanding when you were, when you're trying to start new prospecting? That's where I've gotten caught up in, is just the complication of deals once they're in place.
So I think that it all starts with the buyer and the listing appointment. Number one, you have to explain to them who you are and the fact that you're not the one that handles everything. All right. Right in the listing and the buyer presentation, it talks about the power of a team versus the power of one agent. And Ben uses that wonderful analogy. Do you want a complete platoon of people or some weird looking guy in fatigues and combat boots? You don't want that weird looking guy in fatigues and combat. You want the team. So we have a transaction coordinator. We have showing assistants. We have attorneys, title, inspectors, loan officers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, what's your name?
Jana.
Jana. So when I'm sitting with you, Jana, I'll be like, so Jana, let me ask you a question. When it's time for you to be talking to your loan officer, do you want me on the phone with you? Let's assume that I'm supposed to be finding houses for you. Jana, when I'm supposed to be finding houses for you, do you want me on the phone with loan officers trying to get somebody a mortgage, or do you want me looking for homes for you? Do you want me at the closing table with you, with that person when I should be looking for homes for you? Or do you want me to be finding homes for you? Do you want me to fill in the blank or for someone else? Or do you want me to be finding homes for you? Jana, my job is to find the best homes for you and negotiate the best pricing for you. I have people for all those other things. Your hand will be held for all of those other things. It just won't be by me. And yet the standard will remain.
Okay.
So you have to pre-frame it to them in the beginning that someone else will handle that, and then remind them when the time comes. Well, remember I introduced you to the loan officer from XYZ company? That's a great question for him. Would you like me to have him call you? And shoot it out, because Gary Keller said it so well. Never let your current business interfere with finding new business, because that's what this type of a business looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be on the roller coaster forever.
Great. Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Did I answer it?
Yes.
Okay, making sure.
Next question.
Yes. So you said that you have like a newsletter that goes out every week. And you said
I'm sorry, what's that?
You,
She was asking about your newsletter.
you said you have a newsletter that goes out
Yes.
every week, but it's not through Brivity. So what do you use? Who are you using for that, or what?
Okay, so my newsletter is done through Constant Contact. I create it within Constant Contact. My list is in Constant Contact, and every single week it goes out. What the basic structure is, and again, I stole this from Ricky Caruth. All right, I have an R&D department, which stands for rip off and duplicate. All right, so I stole this from Ricky Caruth. he uses this newsletter, and he tell you straight up, go ahead, steal it and use it. It says the hardest working realtor in Delaware. Prove I'm not, by the way. So it says the hardest working realtor in Delaware. It has my picture, my ugly mug on the top. The next level has a picture of a house that changes every single week. There's a description of it. There's links to click to it. There's searches on there. There's articles from realtor.com and things like that on the right-hand side. I added on the left side, local contractors that I've done business with. I let them advertise for free. I asked them for referrals, by the way. And then underneath it says, do you regret not owning more real estate?
Okay.
I stole that from my R&D department, got that from Ben Kinney.
Okay.
So that goes out every single week. My VA does it at this point. I used to do it. It took me, you ready, guys? It's a long day putting this together. You ready? Once it was set up, 5 minutes.
Once it was set up.
All right. Setting it up took about 20 to 30 minutes. And then I do this crazy thing. I go in to Constant Contact. I pull the arrow down next to the newsletter and I click copy. And I change the articles, I change the property, and I schedule it to go out. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And by the way, I do 2 newsletters. I do one to handle North and Central New Jersey, where I moved from, because I still have a showing assistant up there. So I'll go get business for it there. And then one for down here in Delaware, where I have Delaware, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and South Jersey. Because unlike you guys, I'm in a tiny state. If I trip, I can land in any of those states.
Mark, I got a question for you.
Yes,
There
sir.
had to be some times where you maybe took a few days off, you had a planned thing that you had to go to, and you were short on your calls, or you were short on your contacts. What did you do to get caught back up, or did you just say, well, I'll do it later, or how did that work?
So there was, like I said, I didn't do this. I don't think I did it the right way.
Mhm.
Remember what I told you is I did it alone. Now, not alone, but I was the only guy sitting in this office. I didn't have other feet on the ground here with me. I had virtual. Amy was in Atlanta. Brady was in Florida. Katie is where Katie is, I think in Arizona or Oregon or something out west. I had contact to people that I could talk to and it could help me virtually, and yet I was alone. So I had to hit these numbers with no help. So there was a point that I had gone, and I don't recommend this. I had gone basically, I think it was 60 days, 2 solid months with 0 days off. And I don't mean I took a Sunday or a weekday. I mean, I worked 60 days straight. That was leading into Labor Day. I took Labor Day off and had a client of mine that refused to stop calling me that day. So I actually turned my phone off. And yet, how do I handle it now if I'm going to do that? It's probably a better way for me to answer that question, because I don't think I really did that last year. The way I handle it now is I say, okay, I have to do 247 calls. I'm taking off. I'm going to Florida to visit dad, whatever. I'm taking a week off. Well, 125 calls a day, I'll put those onto the week leading up, and 125 calls extra a day, I'll put into the week tailing out. Unless I know that I can say, you know what, I can do 50 calls a day when I'm down in Florida or on my vacation before stuff gets rolling. Like if I go to the West Coast for a vacation, I know darn well I can get up at 5 in the morning and make 8 o'clock calls back to the East Coast. So I'll get up at 5 and I'll make my calls at that time. But if I'm going to be same time zone, well, those times I need to be with family. I need to do the vacation stuff. I need to be present where I am. So I'm going to take 50% of them on the front end for a week, 50% of them on the back end for a week. And I'm going to block out my schedule, and everybody that wants to make an appointment with me the week that I'm gone, I just let them know, listen, I'm on appointments. I am booked solid that week. And yet I am so wide open the next 2 weeks that you can have the pick of the litter. What works for you? I don't tell people I'm going on the vacation. I don't tell people, and the one thing I used to do is like my son played football and I was, as a divorced dad, very little time as, compared to a married dad to get to see him. I was not missing a single football game. So I had an appointment. And I shut my phone off. So the thing I can tell you is when you're working, work. If you're going to take time off, add those to the front end and the back end, or you put them all on the front end, or you can put them all on the back end. It doesn't matter. The question is, did you make the required number of dials to hit your goal?
Very good.
Yeah. So, I mean, you might want to say, I'm going to go into my vacation. I don't want to build it up and tell people I'm not available that week. So maybe I'm going to just add 50% more dials for 2 weeks when I get back.
Good. Any other questions for Mark? Well, Mark, I sure appreciate you being on the call with us today and also sharing your success where you failed at being the worst realtor and ended up being a partner for us. So I really appreciate that.
It was a fun failure.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for attending today, guys. And if y'all have other things that you'd like to see on these calls, then let us know what those are so we can get those scheduled for you. We have such a vast array of people that we can reach out to. Go ahead, Mark.
If you want a copy of that newsletter or you want a copy of the scripts that I use, by all means, you can email the one that Wes sent, or you could just do MARC. I'll put it right in the chat. Hold on one sec. I'm going to put all capitals. I'm not yelling, but sometimes people put the L's as ones. All right, so my KW is a good one, to get in there. All right, but yeah, but the key is be consistent, do your track your numbers. Get to the point where you look at it, it's X amount of dials to a contact, X amount of contacts or conversations to a nurture or an appointment, and start to learn your numbers. And if they start to waver, ask somebody to listen to you talk as you dial.
Yeah.
All right, Mark. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Here in Tennessee.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me in.
Mhm.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys later. Wish you great success here.